like to welcome everyone here that's here and present to our city council, and those who are watching it on TV. We're a little delayed because we were having some technical difficulties. Is that how they say it? All right, we'd like to first start with our motivational message and prayer, and Alan Bonney will be doing that for us. So if you'd like to come up, Alan.
Mayor, Councilman, it's my pleasure to be here and to have a few minutes of your time. 50 years ago, a wise teacher by the name of David O. McKay said that character is higher than intellect, and we honor and love those with the highest character. One of those that we regard highly like that was a general who fought for us in the war for our independence. And he also led us in peacetime as our first president. In George Washington's first inaugural address, he said, "No people can be bound to acknowledge and adore the invisible hand which conducts the affairs of men more than the people of the United States. Every step by which they have advanced to the character of an independent nation seems to have been distinguished by some token of providential agency." It's through the acknowledgement of a supreme being in our lives, both publicly and privately, that great blessings have been given to us. And the people of this city, this state, and this nation cherish those blessings, and the people of the world esteem those blessings. And with that, I'd like to lead us in prayer. Our dear kind Father in heaven, as we commence this meeting, recognizing the rights and privileges that Thou hast bestowed on this nation, recognizing the freedoms that we have, we ask that are given to us by Thee. We ask that Thou would be with us. Be with the mayor, be with the councilmen, be with the employees of the city as they work in our behalf, and with the citizens and the people of the city as they watch and participate in this meeting. And we do humbly pray in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Alan.
Thanks, Alan.
Ask Councilman Gordon to lead us in the pledge.
Audience, please rise. Please repeat the pledge after me. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Seth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We had a scheduling snafu occur, and we will need to put this off 2 weeks.
All right.
And we'll gladly recognize the employee of the second quarter at our next council meeting, if that's okay with you.
We'll let you off this time. Okay, public comment. Anyone that would like to come up and address the mayor and the council?
Mayor, City Councilman, my name is Carrie Hanks, and I'm the director of the Spanish Fork St. Mary Chamber of Commerce. And I come here tonight to invite you all to come down to Main Street on Saturday. That's this Saturday, the 25th, from 1 until 3 p.m., and hand out candy to the kids with us. How's that?
Sounds wonderful. Do we get to eat some of it?
Yeah, if you want to.
Almond Joys.
Almond Joys, whatever you want, Richard, we'll make sure we have it. But we're having the Main Street Trick or Treat, sponsored by the Chamber of Commerce and the local businesses, on Main Street on Saturday. Like I said, 1 to 3, and it's from Center Street to 4th North. And that's only so that we can have the assistance of our local police department in helping keep all the kids safe. We expect we'll have about 2,500 to 3,000 kids, 2,500 to 3,000 kids on Main Street during that time. So we invite everybody to come down, dress your kids up, come down and enjoy some afternoon sun with the Chamber of Commerce, because it'll be fun. So it always is. It's great.
Terry, I've noticed that gets bigger and bigger every year, doesn't it?
Every year, yeah, grows and grows. Our scarecrow contest this year has really been outstanding. We've probably had, you know, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 more scarecrows than we did last year. So it's a great thing. They're being judged as we speak, and on Saturday at 2 p.m. at Memorial Square Park at 200 North and Main Street, we'll announce the winners of those, of the
I
scarecrow
noticed
contest.
somebody took off my Utah State football player beating up the BYU football player, took it off this Main Street. Who did that?
I'm not saying a word, Richard.
They got
Not
beat again.
saying a
this-
word.
Colorado
But
State.
it's gonna be fun, so we just wanna invite everybody to come out and have a good time with the kids, so, all right?
Thanks, Carrie.
Thanks, Carrie.
Appreciate all you do there.
You bet.
Anyone else like to come address the council, Mayor? Seeing none, we'll go to council comments. Councilman Mendenhall.
Just a couple of things. I had the opportunity to get here to the city office to early vote today. So if you haven't done that yet, today was the first day we could early vote in our local elections. Ran into the mayor here and a few other people here. So just like to remind everybody, if you haven't got the flyer in the mail or seen the ads, to get out and vote where we can make our voices heard. And kudos to our city that there was, as the mayor can attest to, there was more than just a couple of us in here voting today. So we're an active community, an active city that gets out and votes for our representatives. So remind everybody to do that. And that's all I have, Mayor.
Councilman Scobes.
Mayor, I have no board meetings or anything to report on at this time.
Thank you. Councilman Dart.
Couple of things. I'd like to thank the volunteers who were down on Main Street last Saturday planting pansies and whatever else they were planting. Great participation down there. And Main Street's going to look good this fall. Also, I'd like to say that we have a new mountain bike trail up above the reservoir. And I don't know that it's officially open, but I know that it's been tried out. And if you want to take a look at it, go up and take a look at it. Just another one of our many recreational amenities that we have here in the city. That's all.
Right. Councilman Gordon.
Threw me for a loop there.
Did
We've
I
got
really? Oh, you're not used to that name?
the Commissioner Gordon's, whatever.
yeah. Yeah, right.
2 more weeks on the farmer's market, Carrie. 2 more Saturdays for the farmer's market, so it's always sad to see that come to an end. But 2 more Saturdays and 8 a.m. until 1 o'clock. So if you're coming down to trunk or treat this Saturday, you can maybe enjoy the farmer's market before you take the kids out. A lot of interest in the relocation of the South Utah Valley transfer station. Some may have realized that's been moved from the agenda this evening. Prior, the talks that we had about moving it by the airport was as a result of Springville City not really wanting to rebuild on that current site, and that they met last week, their Springville City Council, in a work session, and they discussed that they're open to that. And so that kind of put those discussions on a halt, and that's why that's been removed from the agenda here this evening, and we'll kind of go back to the drawing board on that, Mayor, and see what, we'll just do our due diligence to see if we can rebuild it there, if relocating it's what we need to do. So, and that is all I have this evening.
Councilman Davis.
I want to report again, we're on Fiesta Days. We're continuing on with our events for the 24th of July. I want commend John and Lena Mendenhall, our chairmen for this year. They're taking the bull by the horns. They're doing a great job of organizing our Fiesta Days, plus our other chair and vice chairs. And we got a new event we're talking about. We're still talking whether or not we're going to do it or not, but I think it's going to be a pretty neat event if we do it. And we've got a new carnival that we're going to have this year, Brown's Carnival, out of Arizona. They've given us a contract and a bid, and I think the bid's really well. We've got Junior writing up the contract with them now. I think they're going to be outstanding. We had a meeting with Mount Nebo Water Agency Monday. We went over our budget with the entities that are involved in Mount Nebo. We talked about some goals and protections of our water rights in the area. There's some things coming down through the system right now through the federal government that we need to watch and protect and make sure that we don't lose those water rights. I know that Chris Thompson and the rest of our engineer department they've got a 40-year plan involved with our water and doing a great job with our systems. But again, you know, even all the other entities involved, it helps to have a lot of people involved to do that. And also, I'd just like to commend Jamie Chappell and the road department for paving our roads and doing the work that they've been doing around our city. If you've been noticing some of the work that they do, he has a plan that he follows through all year long. He has other cities that come and try to simulate and do the things that Jamie's got in mind, and I just want to commend him for his outstanding work and performance, keeping our city looking better and better. And also the Spanish Fork Police Department, our chief continues to keep us informed on what's going on, and I really commend your officers and the people that work there. Thanks. That's all I have, Mayor.
Great. Follow up a little bit on the streets there. As I was talking to Jamie, he figures by next year every street in the city will have had something done to it in the last 5 years. So he has a program, and I think it was 2 weeks ago we had 4 city officials over here watching them all day, trying to figure out how we do this. And so they're interested in what they do there, and they save the city a lot of money, and our roads look really nice. As councilman, not commissioner, thanks, Councilman Mendenhall mentioned about voting. I was able to do that today. I would just encourage everyone to get out and vote. A lot of times we get in a rut thinking, well, one vote doesn't make a difference. It does make a difference. And it's your responsibility and obligation to go out and vote. Study out the candidates, find out who you want, who represents your values, and then go and vote for them and go out and vote. So I'd encourage everyone to do that. Early voting's in right now. You don't have to wait till November the 4th. You can go now, and I think it's from 2 to 5, 1 to 5. 1 to 5 here at the city office during the week, Monday through Friday. Is that correct? Okay. The other thing I'd like to mention, we are going to be participating with a sister city with Iceland, a city that we've chosen and they've agreed and want us to be is the Westman Islands. They've invited me to come over and meet with them. We meet with the president of Iceland and the mayor. And so in a couple of weeks, I will be going over to Iceland to do a formal presentation and of becoming a sister city, them with us and us with them. And so we're pretty excited about this. This is a pretty big deal. And so as you know, a lot of people, when they joined the church, moved to Iceland and are from Iceland, moved to Spanish Fork. They settled here. And we are still probably the longest settlement of Icelandic descent here in Spanish Fork. And so this will be kind of a real neat, exciting deal. As you've known that the president of Iceland has about 4 or 5 years ago, or maybe 6 years ago, came over with President Hinckley and rededicated the Iceland Monument. He's been here in our parade years and years ago, and so we have a strong tie with Iceland and those people over there, and so now we're going to have a formal connection with them as a sister city. So this is an exciting thing for Spanish Fork, and next month, the end of next month, I'll report on how that went. Okay, I guess we're to Spanish Fork 101, the go-kart course, or is that golf course, Del?
Oh, actually, it's the golf course. Appreciate it, Mayor. Thank you for the opportunity to take a few minutes to give you an update on the golf course. I do have Ryan Reese here, as well as Richard Smith, one of our maintenance guys, is here today. I want to turn the time over to Ryan to let him go through some stuff with you, and then I'll finish up with a couple of things. So, Ryan Reese, our golf professional.
There he is.
Gentlemen, so you look at the camera right there.
There's a hush that comes over the crowd.
Quiet, please.
Yeah. Yeah, quiet.
Well, it's good to be here. Thanks for letting me come and spend a few minutes. It's been an interesting year at the golf course. It's been really good. We did have a few changes. Doug Adams, our longtime superintendent, retired at the end of April after giving 34 years of service to the city, and did a great job, and we were really sad to see him go, but he's on to enjoying retirement, and so that's brought about some changes. So we had Richard Smith here, who's with us, and Dallin Naulu, who's a younger guy who's worked on our staff, and we've hired them to kind of co-manage the maintenance department, just to give you a little update on what's going on there, and they've done a fantastic job. You guys that have been up, Kiara, I haven't seen you near enough, but the rest of you guys have been up enough to see that the golf course has been in fantastic condition this year, and really appreciate all the hard work that they put in, and they're just doing a great job. So that's been kind of one of the major changes that have happened at the golf course. Other than that, we have a few slides. Do you have the next?
You got the button. That's what
I do?
handed you the control.
Oh, great. How does this work?
Point it at Seth.
And push that button.
Okay. So let's just talk about a few of we've had a great revenue year. I mean, it's really been incredible. And most of it's due to the weather. I mean, this spring, we got started on February, I think 10th or 11th was when we got open, which is very early. And so, you know, the weather was great. The residents and people in the area responding and have just really frequented the course, and so our revenues are way up this year, even over last year, which was a great year, as you can see. So green fees, cart fees, everything's up, and we had a great year. So, and thanks to Jared, actually brings a group up a couple times a week too. So anyways, you know, not to spend a lot of time on that slide. If anybody has any questions or anything, we had a great revenue year, and I'll get into some of the details here in a minute. Any questions on that slide before we go forward? All right, here's our basically profit loss side of it. We made a profit for the second year in a row, so it's really exciting. Considering the challenges that we face with the wind and things out of the canyon in the morning, for us to be able to turn a profit is, you know, a lot of things have to fall into place, and I'm certainly not going to sit here and promise that every year. We'll certainly try, but, you know, yeah, it's been a few years since we've been able to do that, but luckily a lot of things have fallen into place, like I said, the last few years, and so we've been able to turn a profit for the golf course. So, and we can come back to that here in a minute, but I'll just forward to the kind of the reasons why. Obviously, this spring, as I said, we had great weather in the spring. Just for your information, so this last February, we did $36,000 in revenue. Now, in a normal February, we would do 8, and last February, we did 0, the February before this one. So, you know, there's 30,000 right there. March, we did 103 this year compared to 82 last year, so there's another 20. So, I mean, you can't count on that every year, but we have happened to have it in the last couple of years. The condition of the golf course, as I said, Richard and Dallin and the staff. In fact, let me go back. I'm going to go back 2 slides real quick. Look, well, let's say just 1 slide. Look at the maintenance expenses. Last year in fiscal year 2013, we spent $353,000. 11 years ago, we spent $356,000. So, I mean, I don't know how many departments have spent less in 11 years and still are providing the quality. It's pretty amazing that we get done what we get done with what we have. So I'll probably be asking for more. No. But really, I mean, if you think about what we've done with what we have, it's pretty darn good. So I just wanted to thank Richard. He's here, and I invited Dallin, but I think he had class tonight. They do a fantastic job, and really, the people that come to play, sure, the customer service that we give is important, but they come because they like the golf course, and it's in good shape. So, you know, slowly improving economy. I mean, obviously, we're not anywhere near what we were back in the mid-2000s, but, you know, it is getting a little bit better. And so that helps. When the housing industry and other industries are good, it certainly helps our business. The morning special that we continue to run, you know, can you believe we did 7,000 rounds before 10 o'clock this last year? You know, and it's considering what it's like up there, that's pretty good. But people don't seem to, they like the price and they don't really care about the wind. And, you know, that's bringing in 73,000 of, you know, revenue.
Brandon's slice game, I can tell you that.
That's true.
And the mayor can hit it long downwind on
Yes,
number
I
one.
can. You get enough wind behind me, I'm good.
So that certainly helps our bottom line. Customer service, organization, pro shop, things that we're doing there have been helpful. And, you know, encouraging respect for the golf course and the carts and employees. You know, we want people to enjoy coming there and bring their families and bring their wives and kids and have it be an atmosphere that they like to come to. Increased marshal presence helps. Marshals do a nice job. And then just word of mouth continuing to get out. Our men's association has continued to grow, and that certainly adds to our success too. So there's a lot of things that go into having a couple of years like we've had. We've had 2 really good years. So I just wanted to thank our staff and you guys for your support. You guys are always very supportive when you come up, and the citizens of Spanish Fork I want to thank for supporting the golf course and coming out and playing. So any questions or anything on?
Well, what I like about your course is your staff and how friendly they are to your people that come and play. Richard's all the time. He's just fun to be up there, and of course he's a friend. But I've noticed him with everybody up there. You know, he talks with people, he associates with them, he asks how the course is doing, and wants to make sure your pros at the pro shop are well respected, and they talk to people and are friendly, and that's what we like about that. It's just a good place to come and play golf, and it's fun. Your marshals are fun to be with, and they come and talk instead of giving you a hard time like they ought to.
Like you're used to.
Well, you know, one thing I think we need to, I know you're not going to stand here and pat yourself on the back, but it starts at the top. And Ryan has shown great leadership, and we thank you for that, Ryan.
Thanks, Ryan. Appreciate it. It's a team effort from everyone involved. I mean, everybody has to do their job for it to come off, but I appreciate it. Thanks.
Get a lot of good feedback. I've had people over in Provo say, hey, I love that early morning golf. And I said, you even like it in the wind? He said, for that price, I'll play in anything. And so I think you've taken a negative and turned it into a positive, you know, instead of everybody you say, oh, gee, we can't get anybody on the course until 10 o'clock, and now you've said, hey, come early and we'll give you this great price. And boy, you've turned that around. That's awesome. So
I can tell you, Ryan and his staff, a couple of different stories, but one I didn't know until just recently, that a guy that I work with keep saying, you know, come with me to Men's Association, let's play on Wednesday. And I learned just a month ago that he's from Orem. So is his dad, so is his brother. And they all come to our golf course in Spanish Fork. They live in Orem, yet they come to our golf course in our Men's Association to play golf. And I can tell you, it used to not be that way. We used to, you know, we were losing people to Provo. We were losing people to Payson in the Men's Association, and we've kind of gained that back more than ever, that people are wanting to come to our golf course to play. And it is because of the course in good condition, and Ryan and his staff taking care of people as well. So you're to be commended to that. The other thing, and maybe this goes overlooked too a little bit, but Ryan and his staff have done a good job of making golf and the golf course not intimidating to anybody. Golf is kind of one of those sports that you either, you know, used to be that you grow up in it or you don't get into it too heavy. But I can tell you from my wife taking my 7-year-old boy up there to have lessons, you know, and sign up for lessons, you know, they didn't always feel welcome up there. I think from some standpoint, I mean, it's just a different place and a different thing. But man, you go up there in the summer and see how many kids and how many moms are up there with their little boys or their little girls, and they pack Ryan will tell you, they pack the place there for a couple hours and watch their kids, and everybody's having a good time, and you know, 2-year-olds are running around the green for a minute, and including mine, but then they have lunch there and they feel like they're a part of it. So it's kind of neat to see that our golf course is becoming kind of like our ballparks are, that it's a family event up there. It's not a place that historically maybe that guys get away from their families or something like that. There are truly families hanging out up there, and it's a fun thing to see. So, and it does go back to right there, that the customer service, the organization, they feel at home with Ryan and his staff. So
Still needs to fill in those 2 sand traps on number 9. Cut down the 1 tree on 15, you know, on the left. If you can get rid of them 3 things, that would be great.
don't do it. They make the funnest part of the rounds with Richard. So don't do it. Keep them.
Well, every time I go with Richard, I learn some new swear words from him.
You do not. Got to be quite the president of mistakes here.
Oh, there you go.
I appreciate that.
But way to go. I mean, it doesn't, not that you need any commendation from me or anybody else, but you're obviously doing the right job. It is good weather, but it's you guys making people feel welcome and getting people into what I think is a great sport. So way to go.
Good job. Thanks, Ryan.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Ryan. Thanks, Richard.
it. Rich?
So I wanted to make sure I had the last word, because I know that Ryan,
Make fun of you now.
you can if you want, but I know that Ryan's a humble person, and he's not going to stand up here, as he didn't, as I well expected, and he's going to give the weather credit and everybody else but him. But Ryan was, let me point out just a couple of things. The blue numbers here are the top, they're our highest numbers, and the reds are lowest. But I know for those of you that were here when we hired Ryan, he's had 3 full years with us. And our expectation was, you know, hopefully he can turn this around in maybe 10 years if we're fortunate, because we got a pretty bad record of some tough years. But that revenue number up there is a record revenue number for our course. The other thing, as you can see, you know, Ryan in the last 2 years has done something we haven't been able to do since the mid-90s. I mean, the spreadsheet wasn't big enough to put all that on there, but we haven't turned a profit since the 90s. And Ryan had to come in and change the culture, and Councilman Mendenhall's already alluded to that. He had to change the culture of our golf course. And you're right, it starts at the top, and he and all of his staff have created a great recreational experience for those people that come there. They not only feel welcome, but the golf course is in great shape. If you don't have a product to sell, I don't care how good a salesman you are. And so it's been a great combination, but he's done some unprecedented things that are just remarkable. And he is right, we do depend on the weather, but we've had good weather in years past and weren't able to do those kinds of things. So appreciate Ryan and all of his staff, and they're very dedicated to this golf course. They own it. And they're treating it like a business and treating people the way they need to be treated to have a good experience. And that's why the whole culture's changed, and I think that's part of what's created that. So, but thank you again for your support.
Good.
Thanks, Dale.
Thanks, Dale. Okay, let's move on to our consent items. Who's going to lead off here? Jared.
You look pretty good in a tie.
I got a few things on here. The first two are professional service agreements. One's with Marshall Railway Consulting. They're going to help us do the new crossing we're going to have at the North End and Legacy Farms Expressway Lane. That's Spanish Fork Parkway is the road name. So we had our meeting, kickoff meeting Tuesday morning, so that's underway, so we should get the results and have the crossing installed next spring. So, the other professional service agreements with Hanson Allen Luce, they help us with our water rights, modeling, other things like that, mostly with water. So we're just extending these agreements so we can create more task orders.
These guys have helped us a lot with saving money too.
Yes, especially with water rights.
Water rights.
So, the third thing is the Morris J. Thomas Sewer and Trail Easement Agreement. This agreement is for the Thomas annexation. It's a requirement that they were to dedicate 30 feet of property along the railroad right away. This is a 30-foot easement for a trail and a sewer line. And then it continues around the west side of the property as an easement. We feel that this is adequate for what we need. As the properties develop with the church and other property that J. Morris or J. Thomas will have, they'll dedicate the right-of-way as we need it. So, I don't know if you have any questions on that.
You did good. That was painless, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Thanks, Jared. Okay. Don't have any other discussion. I would entertain a motion on the consent items.
Motion to approve the consent items.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilman Gordon, a second by Councilman Davis. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, they carry. Number 6, we do not have a public hearing anymore, as Commissioner Gordon talked to us about. New business. Salary study.
Thank you again, Mr. Mayor. I'll be brief, but want to just take you back a few years in time to remind you that in 2006, we hired a company called the Hay Consultant Group to assist us with our salary surveys, which we do every year or try to do every year. And we've been using them, I think, successfully for the past 7, 8 years. We have a system that is working well, and if you visit with the department heads and supervisors, there are a lot of things about it that are going really well. When we initially hired the Hay Group, they told us that we should refresh and train on the program every so often, every 5 to 7 years at least, because certain elements of it get stale, certain roles that staff play in the program we forget, or in our case specifically, 2 of the 5 members of an internal group that reviews things have moved on and taken different jobs, and so our group is down to 3. So we looked at hiring them, paying them to come back and consult with us last year, and the price tag to do all that we felt like we needed them to do, and maybe not all that they recommended, was over $20,000. And we thought, ugh, we just don't like that price tag. And we don't like the idea of having to do that, spend that dollar amount every 5 or 7 years. So we've been looking for another group that we could use that can dovetail with what we're doing, and there's a local group that we've always had an association with called Wasatch Compensation Group and Technology Net Services, and an individual who's got a lot of wealth of experience here in the state of Utah. And we communicated with him. He's very familiar with what we have been doing, the program that we have, and he has proposed a study, a compensation study, a salary validation study, and a few things that we feel like will give us everything that we need, but will be at a significantly less price. So it's a great opportunity, we feel, to refresh and train on what we need, and make some tweaks to the compensation system that we have, but to do it at less than 50% of what we were thinking we might have to do. This study and work that he would do would span the next 3.5 months, almost 4 months. But it will give us some deliverables that will train employees, review all of our job descriptions, classify all the positions, or validate that they are classed correctly, update salary ranges and the like. Any questions about this proposal?
So they'll take what we've had in the past and
Yeah.
integrate it.
Yeah, and
Continue on with what we're doing.
frankly, what we think, as we understand and as we proposed with this company, the end user, if you will, the employee, shouldn't see any difference. Just we'll be able to validate everything that we've been doing. We'll be able to have maybe better information about the salary ranges that we have, which is something we haven't quite had in the past either. But our hope is that to the employee, there's no change at all, that the system continues to function just as they've been trained and we've worked on very hard for the last 7 or 8 years. So
Seth?
We don't need a motion on this, the $10,000 already been budgeted?
yeah, as far as the budget is concerned, that's fine. This is just slightly over $10,000. I've identified something in there that might lower the price a little bit, but
I thought maybe out of your wages or something.
we can do that.
Boy,
but
that's on record.
It is.
I heard that.
Yeah, but if it isn't, then we can find it within the budget already, so there's no need to appropriate additional funds. We simply need the approval for the contract.
Maybe good for the citizens to know, and correct me if my history is wrong on this subject of it, but prior to the Hay Group doing their study in 2006 that we spent that money for, we were kind of doing this in a arena of looking at it some way ourselves, right, as a city or something.
Yeah, we had what I would describe as a fairly sophisticated internal model that we did ourselves, and the program, professionally speaking, the program I think worked really well. There were some concerns about having internal employees do all of that work, and so the council at that time asked us to look for outside consultants that could give us that information. So it wasn't like I was, for example, I was recommending to you where my salary should be, and having that degree of separation, if you will. And so in 2006, we kind of removed that component, took it outside of the city, and had a consultant do that.
And the driving force was that maybe people thought that the city was getting paid, city employees were getting paid, or benefits were way above what the average was. And the result came back that no, we were actually south of where the average is on cities our size.
So going back to 2006, some ranges were high. The majority of the ranges were either slightly low or decently low. And one of the reasons for that is we were comparing to a group of cities that were smaller than Spanish Fork, and not necessarily, as far as professional compensation goes, not the right set of cities, because you don't compare to something that's smaller than you compare to something where you might compete. And so some of the employees that we have aren't necessarily going to take a similar job at a smaller city, because typically speaking they get paid less, but they would look to grow, go to a larger city, or go to a higher position. And so the philosophy that the council at the time and the company strongly suggested is you need to be competitive to where you potentially can lose your employees. That's the market you need to be looking at. You can't always compete with those bigger cities, but you at least need to have a flavor of what they are in the system that you have. And so yeah, generally speaking, ranges at least moved up a little bit, or in some cases they moved up quite a bit.
But important for people to know, citizens that have moved here from 2006 to 2014 now, I mean, you're going on that many years, 8 years of people that have moved here and maybe didn't know about that decision or something. You should know your city was doing a pretty good job before that internally of being nearly right on the mark, and now we, times change, circumstances change, we pay for the outside service to do that, but.
And I think I can speak somewhat objectively on this because I didn't have hardly anything to do with using that system. I used it personally while I was here for a year, so really one time. It was developed and used by others, specifically the city manager, Dave Euler, and it was a great system and did a lot of really good things. And frankly, back then, put us in a class of employers that was significantly different than most government. Government back then, and even still today, is a step and grade system, and in an HR world, you might say a fog the mirror system, where you come to work today and you can still fog the mirror, then you get a raise. And that doesn't really create performance, and we have always had a performance slant here, and many years ago, we put that into our system, and I think we continue to lead in the government sector, at least in the local government sector. Many other cities now do stuff like this, but back then we were pioneers for sure.
All right, so we need a motion to authorize that. I'd entertain a motion.
Well, I move we authorize the mayor to sign the contract with Wasatch Compensation Group.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilman Dart, a second by Councilman Scobes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Moves on. Resolution 14-11, authorizing the Recreation Director to execute SF City TICS contracts.
Thank you, Mayor. As you're all aware, with our new arena at the fairgrounds, our IT department put together software package where people can purchase their tickets online. It's made that very efficient, and it's been a good thing. What we've learned is, as other entities such as the county for the county fair and some of the big horse shows, some of the other big events that rent the arena and open that to the public, sell tickets, that would be a big benefit to them too. And then we've allowed them to use that, but each time we do that, we bring that contract to the council for approval. That is the same contract time after time. So this resolution authorizes the recreation director to go ahead and sign those. So currently that's Dale Robinson. It's a standard contract, would be the same every time, and that is a benefit that goes along with the arena. And we recommend you go ahead and approve this resolution.
So you say it'll be the same contract every time. We're gonna charge every entity that uses our ticketing software.
Well, the charge comes with the arena, but through the SF City TICS, there is an administrative fee that gets added with every purchase, and we will, if we're running it for some other event, we will still get the administrative charge, but there will not be an additional charge on top of that.
Any other questions, discussions? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to adopt resolution number 14-11, a resolution authorizing the recreation director to execute SF City TICS agreements.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilman Davis, a second by Councilman Mendenhall. Since this is a resolution, I'll do it by roll call. Councilman Scobes.
Aye.
Councilman Mendenhall.
Aye.
Councilman Gordon.
Aye.
Councilman Davis.
Aye.
Councilman Dart.
Aye.
It passes. So, we're done.
We have a discussion item, didn't make it on
That's right.
the one agenda, but made it on the other.
Okay.
So this is a non-action item. It is something we'd like to talk about a little bit. We've discovered, question that's come up with our home occupation licenses a little bit. Prior to 2005, our home occupation licensing ordinance allowed them, spelled out some conditions. Then it says this: activities not permitted in connection with the home occupation are retailing goods or commodities on the premises, unless, in the opinion of the city recorder, the goods to be sold are accessory to and incident to the primary home occupation. In 2005, we completely rewrote the ordinance, and the council at that time made a couple of findings. And let me read those to you. It says, whereas with the telecommunications ability of a modern society, a number of people have the ability and desire to work from home, including running businesses from home. And whereas it is an economic benefit to the city to allow people to run businesses from home as long as the residential character of the neighborhood can be protected and maintained and the neighboring property values protected. And then in the ordinance, the prohibition against retail sales was removed. And in its place, there was a limit about no more than 2 patrons at a time being on the premises. So the question has arisen is, the 2 customers at a time is good, the 2 patrons, but if they're coming every 15 minutes or even every hour, that's probably disruptive to a residential neighborhood. And so we wanted a little bit of a discussion on that, some direction from the council. I'm going to share maybe a personal recommendation, and I don't think we need to change it much, but perhaps what we could do is say no more than 2 patrons at a time, and also no more than 6 in a day. And we think that would protect the residential character of the neighborhood. The big problem you run into with these is the traffic. It's whether it's patrons coming or it's delivery trucks coming and going. It's a traffic issue that's generally disruptive. And so if you limit the numbers, we don't think that will impact our home occupations. We think that is fully with the intent of the ordinance, and that would probably accomplish some good. That'd be a minor tweak. So Mayor, it'd be appropriate to have some discussion amongst the council, decide what this council feels your intent ought to be and how we ought to proceed with that. We can leave it alone. We can make whatever change the council feels appropriate. If you can give us some direction, if you want to change, we'll bring it back next meeting. Any questions of me before I sit down and allow you to have your discussion?
Has the price of the fee changed since 2005?
In 2005, it was $35. Currently, it's $40, and that $40 represents our administrative cost to issue the license. Now, on top of that, for certain types of businesses, we require a fire inspection, and there's an additional charge for that.
I'd like to do a little bit more homework on this if I could. I don't want to make any changes right now.
This is not an action item, and this is not anything that is urgent.
The issue you have today is if somebody came in and wanted to retail out of their house, we've been telling them no, because we always assumed you couldn't have walk-in customers to your house. As Junior looked at the ordinance, because we did have an inquiry this last week, the ordinance, based on Junior's interpretation, does allow you to do that. So as you leave it alone today, people come in and want to retail out of their house, walk up customers, they can do that as long as they only have 2 customers at a time. So that's the way your ordinance is written today. So you need to think it through, study it, and see if you'd like to leave it the way it is, make the changes, or if you want to just discuss it while you're here, talk about it. Get some ideas out on the table. So next time you come back in, this is the last item on your agenda, so it's a good time to talk about it.
I'd like to talk to some people about it and do a little more study on it. That's what I'd like to do.
Junior, what's the feeling about 6 being the kind of your comfort level?
Frankly, that's just an arbitrary number. It might be 8, might be 4. I think when it comes down to it, it's the council's discretion there. And Richard may be right on, is to do a little research to discover what that number ought to be. I think if we're going to protect the residential character of our neighborhoods, we probably ought to have some number there. 6 is, not a lot, but it's an arbitrary number. It's just the one I threw out.
Junior, have we had a lot of issue with this?
No.
So there hasn't been a lot?
Well, as David's mentioned, we've turned a few down. Some probably wouldn't qualify anyway because of the storage nature of what they were doing, but there's been a couple that probably should have had a license that didn't get one. But there hasn't been a big issue, no.
And what about those that have that business? Has there been, that are doing retail out of their home now, or has there been any complaints, or has there been issues?
Well, basically, there's only 1 or 2 that do have their reasons. There really hasn't been long enough time to know that.
I think it's maybe appropriate to add that we haven't issued a business license to a home occupation that is going to retail. And so there may not be any practical experience that we have, because the interpretation out of the business license division has been to say home occupation and retail. No, it doesn't fit until we've had this discussion come up. So there may not be any practical experience that we can go off of.
But on the other side, you do have businesses that do not have a license that
Right.
retail out of their home. I mean, there's a lot of different commodities out there that retail out of their home.
Well,
So-
yeah, let me help clarify that. We do allow internet sales. And, you know, as long as they're not turning their home into a warehouse with product, they're basically selling out of their home, but they're not having patrons come to their home. That's the difference. We haven't had any complaints about that I'm aware of.
Well, my question is, that I haven't had an opportunity to really study the ordinance and see how it reacts and different businesses that it might affect or doesn't affect. The other thing is so far it was made in 2005 and it hasn't really made a big difference. And so I think we just to be fair, do a little more homework on it as far as I'm concerned.
Like I said earlier, I don't see any urgency to this, but I think it's a good discussion item for the council to have.
Junior, who are the applicants, if you could, you don't know, any?
Now, we do have beauty, people doing beauty hairstyling out of their home.
Yeah, under the earlier ordinance that I read, you remember the second provision, second caveat was unless in the opinion of the business license administrator, it was incidental to the home occupation, it was a minor event. So traditionally, we've had beauticians that have been able to sell hair.
Selling product, I wouldn't know about that.
You should have started a long time ago, maybe you might have made a difference.
Technically,
I don't know if they
that's
sell cocaine or
retailing,
not.
that's retailing.
You better go check it out.
It is, but that's an exception that was in the earlier ordinance.
Following up on Richard's comment, is there anything you'd like the staff to get to you? You got a copy of the ordinance, you can see what the existing ordinance is. Is there any information you would like the staff to get to you so that you can study it and think through?
This has never happened to Brandon, but I see this happening and getting more popular. But I dropped my phone and cracked my screen. And if you look at his iPad, it needs some repair too. So I give him this guy's number. But I went to a neighboring city and took my phone there because he was online, and I searched online where to go. And took my phone there, waited while he repaired my phone. And, you know, I had to buy the screen from him there, make a transaction, everything. I was a walk-up customer. And, you know, I made the sly joke of I'm not the only guy here because there was a million cracked screens all over his table there that he was fixing. And he said he gets 15 customers a day that he fixes their iPad or their iPhone. So that's what caught my attention about 6 is maybe
Ways from 15.
that's a little ways from 15, and I know he had a business license because he displayed it right there and could take credit card and everything else. But I could also see how 15 people in a neighborhood could mean 15 different cars coming and going, you know, at different hours of the time too, which might lend to the fact of what you're talking about.
Yeah, I think the council probably needs to study that issue and come up with the appropriate number.
So some of the things I'd like to see are more along the lines of definitions. Certain areas of the city would lend to 15 cars coming in and out easier than 6 cars coming in and out. Patrons as well. I know quite a few meetings ago when we had talked about accessory buildings, a photography studio was talked about. I think the definition of patron would be something we need to look at, because if they're selling the pictures or maybe even photo equipment, a family of 5 goes in for a photo session. If it's only 2 individuals or 2 patrons, then mom and a kid take a picture, kid walks out, dad walks, you know, you've got people walking back and forth because there are more than 2 patrons who would be in the house, in the studio at a time.
That sounds like a good assignment for you to take. Bring back your recommendation.
There you go. Wow, way to throw that on to him, Junior.
And the other thing you're dealing with, you're not dealing with services here. What you're talking about is retail sales.
Right.
So you already have in your ordinances how you want to address the services, unless you want to look at the whole thing. All we're talking about is retail sales because of this ordinance here. So you need to determine it, and to me, it isn't an issue of how many customers we want. You might not want any customers. You might want to have it 0. That's the way it used to be before 2005. So you need to analyze whether whether a number is appropriate, whether you want to put any restriction on it. I assume you'd want to get a little feedback from the chamber, get their ideas, because you have a lot of home occupation businesses in town. But there's always been the concern of, the home occupation unfairly competing with the downtown business area. So you need their feedback, their input. But you need to look at the whole gamut, not just a number of 6 or 10 or whatever.
Hey, Dave Anderson, would you mind emailing us maybe a list of just some of those that have been denied or that the office has said no to, just so we can kind of compare and get an idea if we're dealing with hair product sales, or is that okay to do when you have some spare time?
The list will likely be pretty short. We can certainly get that to you in the morning.
And I figured so.
There are a handful that I passed through.
Okay. And I agree with Richard. I mean, it hasn't been a problem since 2005 where, here we are discussing something.
Okay. Well, it looks like we've got some homework assignments to do, so study that out and then come back prepared next time we can talk about it. Okay.
All right. I would move we go into closed session to discuss litigation, property, and personnel issues.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilman Davis, or a motion by Councilman Dart, and a second by Councilman Davis. Go into closed session. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you for everyone that was here.